So you think you're good at figuring out what other people have, eh? Well, one hand in particular on today's vlog will put your skills to the test. Today's episode features some 1-3, 3-5, plenty of big hands, an epic comeback attempt, but the highlight is an insane, action-packed last hand where I do not think you'll be able to figure out what my opponent has. For those of you who like to fast forward, we do go up against him in an earlier pot, so there's some history in play. So if you just skip to the last hand, you probably don't give yourself a very good shot of figuring it out. Anyway, if you can accurately guess my opponent's hand in this big pot, I will be shocked. I'll be impressed. I'll be really impressed. And as such, I will send you either your very own Poker for Pound Pups t-shirt, or I'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card if you prefer that. So anyway, we've got a ton of action on today's vlog. Let's dive into the hands, starting at 1-3. We start the day off with Jack 9 suited. There's a $6 button straddle, so it starts with a small blind and makes it to me in the big blind, where I raise to 26. Middle position and the button both call, and we go three ways to a flop of ace, queen, 4 rainbow. I totally missed this flop, but in general, it's going to be good for the range of hands that I raise with. So I'm going to continue for 40, see if we can take it down, and if we get raised, it'll just be an easy fold. $40 gets the job done against middle position, but the button puts in the call. So we're going to need some help, and we improve to a gut shot straight draw as the turn comes in the 8 of hearts. Sometimes people will give you one call on the flop just to keep you honest, but oftentimes a second barrel gets it done. So this time around, I size up. I make it 130 to go. This should fold out all of his king jack, king 10 hands, and it should also fold out all of his queens. But this time he makes the call. Pretty sure he's got at least an ace, if not a better hand than that. So we need plan B to come through, hoping to spike a straight on the river, but it comes in a 7 of spades. I give up and check, and he checks it back and shows ace jack for top pair with a strong kicker. Jack 9 of spades didn't work out. Let's try the diamond variety. Two people limp and I raise to 20, and under the gun in middle position make the call. This time around, the flop is a lot kinder as we hit top pair plus a flush draw on jack 8 deuce with 2 diamonds. Exactly the flop we needed. It's time to start building a pot. I make it 15, under the gun calls, and middle position folds. Turn doesn't help as it's the ace of clubs, but it is going to be great for my range. If my opponent happened to have a jack, they're probably going to hate this turn card, and if they have me beat, I still have the flush draw. I bet 50, and middle position makes the call. Looking for some help, and the river brings in the 4 of hearts, so we miss diamonds, and now under the gun leads out for 50. She is not the type to bet when she misses her draws, so I know she has at least an ace, if not better. I don't think I can get her to fold, so I'm just going to go ahead and give up on this one. My cards hit the muck, and she shows ace jack. All right, we might be running into it a little bit today. Nice hand, nice hand. Let's do better going forward. Next up, we lose a flip as we 3-bet king queen and run into jacks who's short stacked. We completely whiff on the board, so we chip down another $150, and now we're in a hole. So let's turn things around with ace queen suited. The low jack starts things off by raising to 15. Usually I 3-bet ace queen, but I'm in position against a player who's played super straightforward after the flop. He might do one continuation bet, but he will not fire again on the turn unless he has something. So I'm gonna lean into my position, my really strong hand, and the fact that my opponent will probably play this one pretty face up. I switch up my strategy and just make the call. Everyone else gets out of the way, and we bank top pair on ace jack 3 with 2 hearts. He throws out $25, and I match it. Turn is not a good one. It's the king of diamonds. He now has a lot of combinations that have made 2 pair, and he also could have some sets as well. So I'm not a big fan of this card. So I don't love it when my opponent bets out $80, but I think my hand is still just a little too strong to fold at this point, and we can reevaluate on the river. So we make the call. I'm not sure if the river's a good one or a bad one, as it's the queen of hearts. So now any 10 makes a straight, the flush gets there, and my opponent has a ton of 2 pairs and sets in his range as well. I'm hoping that this one goes check, check, but that doesn't happen. The low jack bets $180, and I go deep into the tank. Reasons to fold are that the front door draw gets there, ace 10 gets there, ace king has me beat,
Pocket kings have me beat, pocket jacks have me beat, and like I said before the hand, I chose to play the hand this way because I was in position and I felt like I could read my opponent pretty well. Reasons to call. Well, pot odds are in my favor. My hand is super under-repped. I'm beating a few two-pair hands like ace-jack, ace-3, king-jack, and I'm on a poker vlog, and folding is boring. At the end of the day, my curiosity gets the best of me. I put in the call, and he shows me king-5 of hearts. I did not suspect that would be a hand he'd be opening, but it totally makes sense as he flopped a flush draw, turned himself second pair, and rivered the flush. Bad run out, but a bad play by me. I need to find the fold button here. It's just at this moment that my name thankfully gets called for 3-5, and I am more than ready to switch tables, leave these nits behind, and go play some higher stakes. Not even 5 minutes in, and we're sitting on the big blind with pocket kings. Under the gun raises to 25. The cutoff and the button both make the call, and I 3-bet to 125. Initial raiser under the gun makes the call, and both the cutoff and the button get out of the way. So we're heads up out of position to a flop of 5-4 deuce with 2 hearts. I decide to check, trying to induce my opponent to go for the bait, and he takes it. Under the gun bets 120, leaving himself about 230 behind. I go ahead and check raise all in. He doesn't take too long before making the call. I show my kings, and they hold up as the turn comes in the jack of spades and the river the 8 of diamonds. Finally, we get a hand, and finally we hold up. I'd much rather run good at 3-5 than at 1-3, and this was exactly the reset that we needed. Let's keep it going. A few minutes later, we're on the cutoff, and we get red pocket kings this time. One limper before I raise it up to 35, and we get 3 callers. I'm pretty happy with the flop as it comes in ace, king, queen, all black. A connected board with 3 opponents. I definitely need to bet this one. I continue for 75, and the big blind makes the call. We're now heads up and see a turn that we're not a fan of, the 7 of clubs. I think if I bet something like 150 or 200, I'm only going to get called or raised by hands that are better than mine, and hands that I have beat are just going to go ahead and fold. So I decide to check this one back for pot control, hoping that the board pairs on the river, and it doesn't. The 5 of hearts comes through, and now the big blind puts me in a tough spot. He throws out a bet of 200 bucks. I don't like it one bit, but I don't think I have anything to do other than to make the call. So that's what I do, and we get the bad news. Not only did our opponent flop a straight with Jack 10, but he also improved to a flush on the turn as he has Jack 10 of clubs. We needed a board pair in the worst way. It didn't happen. We give some money back as a set of kings falls to a flop straight and turned flush. Hope you're ready for an action-packed hand as we have ace-queen offsuit in the small blind. Cutoff raises to 35. Button makes the call, and I 3-bet from the small blind to 165. The big blind, who's the action player that we felted in the first hand, now decides to 4-bet jam all in for 305. For those of you unaware, Washington State caps out the number of raises per street at 3. So this 4-bet made by the big blind puts a cap on the raising action. The initial raiser and the cutoff pretty quickly makes the call, and I'm in kind of a sticky spot. I'm going to be dominated here quite a bit against the cutoff. I'm not so much worried about the short stack jam, but considering pot odds, I need to make the call, and that's what I do, and I am thrilled with that decision as we flop top 2 pair on ace, queen, deuce with 2 spades. I check, and that does the trick. The cutoff bets the max, 300. I put him all in for his last 20 bucks, and he makes the call. So we've got top 2 in a 4-bet pot that's up to 1,590 bucks, and I show ace queen, and we see one of the worst turn cards you could imagine. The king of clubs comes in, rivers the 4 of diamonds, and my opponent turns over ace king. Oh, that one hurts. In hindsight, he did have spades, so we were only slightly ahead considering he had the flush draw. But after a day like today where I've been running into it, this one stings just a little bit more than usual. Time to summon the last bullet from our wallet and make one final stand on the day. Chips! We add on and pick up ace 10 offsuit, limp city, and I bump it up to 40 bucks and get 3 callers. Pretty happy with the flop as it comes out 10 high with 2 diamonds, and I continue for 80 bucks, betting for both value and for protection. Under the gun and middle position makes the call, and my hand gets even better on the turn as the ace of clubs comes in. Hopefully we're in a position where we can cooler one of our opponents. It checks to me again, and this time I size up to 225. This is going to put all those hands like 7-8 or hands with a flush draw in a really tough spot. Under the gun tanks for well over a minute before ultimately throwing his cards into the muck. Middle position follows suit pretty quickly. I'm happy just to get back in the win column and to add some ammunition to our stack. We needed that. Can we string a few together now? A steady flow of elite cards is coming our way. This time it's ace-king suited from the big blind. We've got about a stack of 900 bucks. The low jack raises to 20 and gets called by the cutoff, the button, and the small blind. The small blind's an important one, and I'm going to just call him Gene. He's going to come into play now as well as in a future hand, so keep an eye out for Gene sitting to my right in the small blind. I've got ace-king suited, so of course I'm raising this one rather than going 5 ways. I make it 130, and the initial raiser in the low jack and Gene in the small blind both make the call. Flop is pretty gross, 8-5-4 rainbow. We've got 2 overcards and we've got a backdoor flush draw, but that's about it. This may be a horrible play, but I make it 180. This is less than a half pot size bet, and it's something I would probably do if I had an overpair here. If it works half the time, then it's a great bet, and that's what I'm hoping for. The initial raiser folds. He would later tell me he had ace queen, but Gene puts in the call. The fact that he called the initial raise and my 3-bet makes me think that maybe he's got something like a set of 4s or a set of 5s. Turn comes in the jack, and I get the sense that Gene is not going to go away lightly. So when he checks, I go ahead and check. The river brings in another jack. He checks again. Maybe $300 will get it done, but I just give up. And Gene shows ace-8 suited. Certainly a strange hand for him to be calling a 3-bet to 130 bucks out of position in the small blind. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him and the fact that he's getting quite sticky. So after chipping down again with ace-king, we need to hit something because our stack is down to just over 600 bucks. Gene's got the $10 button straddle on, and I raise pocket 9s to 40 bucks. Under the gun and the hijack call, and everyone else folds. So we are out of position 3 ways to a really nice flop for 9s, 6-5 deuce with 2 spades. While it's great for my hand, it's awful for my range. My opponents know this, and we've got an action player under the gun, so I'm going to check and give them a chance to either bluff or bet lesser hands. Action player under the gun who doesn't like to fold makes it 100 bucks, and the hijack raises to 250. Well, I didn't come this far to fold an overpair. I go ahead and raise the max, making it 550. Under the gun calls for less, which puts him in for 305, but the hijack folds, later revealing that he had a 6 in his hand. Action is complete. We've got about $1,000 in the pot, and we're pretty happy with the run out as it comes the 5 of clubs and the 5 of diamonds. I show my full house, and it is good. Woo! The roller coaster continues, and we've got life again. All right, last hand of the day, definitely the highlight of this vlog. Want you to pay attention to how this hand plays out and let me know if you can figure out what Gene has. We're not going to reveal what he has in this video. I want you to put your guesses in the comments. The first person to guess his hand correctly will get either a Poker for Pound Pups shirt, or if you'd rather, we'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card. So let me know in the comments what you think Gene has. Speaking of Gene, he's on the button and he's put a $15 button straddle on, which means I'm first to act pre-flop from the small blind. I look down at a beautiful sight, black pocket queens. This has certainly not been a passive nitty table, so I'm pretty sure someone is gonna raise if I limp. So that's what I elect to do. I put 15 bucks in the middle and cross my fingers. Big blind limps as well, and middle position comes through for us, raising it to 60 bucks. The low jack calls. The hijack calls. And when it makes it to Gene, he 3-bets to 160. This is the first time I've seen Gene put out a 3-bet all day, so I'm not really sure if I'm loving it. Gene makes it 160, and I'm certainly not just gonna go ahead and call with pocket queens from the small blind and 3 or 4 other opponents. So I 4-bet and make it $450. This is a cap, which means nobody else can raise. The big blind who limped for 15 bucks folds. Middle position, the initial raiser who made it 60 bucks, takes a while before ultimately folding as well. The low jack leaves, The hijack mucks his cards as well, and then it gets back to our good friend Gene. Gene puts in the call, and we are heads up to a flop of Jack 9-8 Rainbow. So I don't know what Gene has, but I've got an overpair and I've got a gutter. I bet the max, 300 bucks. And Gene goes deep into the tank. Gene takes a really long time and is just sitting there. I'm not sure if he's just acting, if he's really trying to think it through, if he's got the best hand or not. But eventually I tell him,
if you got it, you don't need to act. I'm going all in. So
let's do it. 600.
I take a deep sigh and go all in for $750. Gene, of course, makes the call for the last 150 bucks. So we've got nearly a $2,600 pot, and we strike gold as the 10 of diamonds comes in on the turn, giving us the straight. The river is a brick. I show my pocket queens, and the straight is a winner. Whew! That was the one we needed to come through on. $2,600 pot is definitely one of the bigger ones we've won, certainly for a while. Nice to finally get one going our way. But what did Gene have? 3-bet to 160, called my 4-bet, and then raised me on a flop of Jack 9-8.
All right, before we get to the wrap up, if this is your first time on the channel, my name's Wes. I'm an amateur poker player. I'm just here to get a little bit better, to learn from you, and ultimately turn enough views into raising some money for shelter dogs. I've got 2 shelter dogs myself, Percy and Brody, and they totally changed my life. So if you like the content, hit that subscribe button. It tells YouTube you want to see more of this content in the future. If you don't like the content, no worries. There is a link in every vlog we put out if you want to donate directly to the SPCA. All right, with that out of the way, let's recap the session. Worst hand of the day by far was that ace-queen suited hand at 1-3. I'm still not very good at trapping yet. When I choose not to 3-bet ace-queen suited, that also invites others to come along as well. So I need to realize that I'm playing with fire a little bit, and when we get runouts like that where it's 4 to a straight and 3 to a flush on the front door flush, 2-pair really isn't a great hand. It felt really good getting back to 3-5, especially at a table that had a lot of action, and then I got a lot of good cards. One thing I did like that I feel like I can't really do at 1-3 very often, when I'm the pre-flop raiser and the board comes out low, something that normally wouldn't hit my range, I can check, and my opponents are smart enough that they're going to go ahead and bet that board to try and draw me out of the hand if I have something like ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, something I'm typically raising with. But then when I have an overpair, I can check raise them, and that worked out for me a couple times in this session. Best hand of the day, obviously, was that last hand, pocket queens. Got super lucky the way that it all turned out, where I flop an overpair and end up turning the straight in a 4-bet pot that totals 2,600 bucks. Better to be lucky than good. So let me know in the comments what you think he had. Can't wait to see some of your guesses. At the end of the day, this is your vlog. I am all ears to make it more of what you want. And let me know how I can get better, because I will be playing in a big, highly visible game within the next month. So I need all the help that I can get. All right, the totals. 1-3, I played for 6 hours. I was in for 1,150, out for 480 for a loss of 670 bucks. 3-5, I only played for 2 hours. I was in for 1,180 and was out for 2,860 for a profit of 1,680 bucks. So at the end of the day, I ended up working a full shift and pulled just a little over a $1,000 profit. Nothing crazy when you're putting 8 hours into a day, but it certainly feels good to climb out of nearly a $2,000 hole. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching vlog 25 on Poker for Pound Pups. I'm Wes, and we'll see you next time.
Hey everybody, subscribe here to catch the latest episodes. Also, hit that like button and share these videos with anyone who might enjoy them. Doing that really helps the channel and its goal to support dog shelters, so thanks for watching Poker for Pound Pups, and have a great day.